Tempering is one of the skills anybody works with chocolate really needs to learn how to do and how to master. You can stir it as fast as you want, you will still burn the chocolate. The cocoa butter crystals can form 6 different shapes. That's good and that's bad. Whatever tool you're using on the marble crates, you can see there's a lump of chocolate. We actually get it from melting down chocolate that's already in temper. Sprinkle this 1% by weight into untempered chocolate. Hi, my name's Bill Fredericks. I'm known as a Chocolateman. Today we're going to cover some chocolate basics and we're going to really go over tempering. Tempering is one of the skills anybody who works with chocolate really needs to learn how to do and how to master. But before we actually deal with tempering, I want to teach you a little bit about what chocolate is, where it comes from. You need to understand your basic components before we need to get involved with tempering. Starting off, chocolate actually comes from cacao pods. These are actually 3 different types of cocoa pods. Normally they would cut it open with machete. Inside there's a soft, white, delicious fruit, and inside each fruit kernel there is a seed. They call them cocoa beans. They're actually not beans, but they're the seed of the cacao tree. The cacao comes in a bunch of varieties. We're not going to get into that. But basically, they open up the cacao. There's the flesh inside. They literally put it into a pile. It ferments for 3 to 5 days. The fermentation actually causes chemical changes in both the fruit and most importantly in the seed. The fruit will actually literally melt away, but it's very similar to wine. If you put grape juice in a bottle, 3 years later take it out, it's still grape juice. The grape has to go through a fermentation process to turn it into the fine tasting wine. Same thing happens with cacao. It has to go through a fermentation process that sets up the flavor precursors. And each one is uniquely different, just like there's different wines from different grapes, and also the very same grape from different locations will have a different flavor due to what's called terroir. Same thing that happens with cacao, the very same. First thing you got to understand is what chocolate is when it's not tempered. This is chocolate that's out of temper. There's nothing wrong with this chocolate. If this happens to you, do not throw it away. I've heard that story too many times. These are all different examples of chocolate that's out of temper. Chocolate that's out of temper will crumble. Chocolate typically doesn't crumble. You can't crumble good chocolate. Has different swirls. You can actually see different layers. All right, before we start tempering chocolate, I want to teach you how to properly melt chocolate. Chocolate has characteristics such that we don't want to ever heat chocolate above 130 degrees. Some chocolate can be heated above 130 degrees. That's 130 Fahrenheit. But some chocolate will actually start to cook. And cooking is, by definition, that's chemically changing the food. Okay, we don't want to be changing the chocolate. You can actually melt chocolate, freeze it into a solid, melt it, freeze it as many times as you want. You won't change the flavor, the viscosity, any characteristic of the chocolate as long as you don't cook it. Once you cook the chocolate, once you get it too hot, then chemically things happen. The sugars start polymerizing, proteins breaking down, Maillard reaction. There's things that happen that the chocolate is not the same. Oh, not quite 2/3, a little bit less. Chocolate's hard to judge also as a liquid when you pour it out. I like using the plastic bowl scrapers for tempering my chocolate. Other people like using metal spatulas. All depends on how you're taught and what you're used to and what works for you. It all works exactly the same. Cocoa butter's cocoa butter and chocolate's chocolate. Going on this cold surface, the temperature right here in our studio right now is about 70 degrees. Okay, we're already down to 78, 88, a little spot of 95. We're under 92. Okay, so we're safe. That quickly, we're safe to actually start gathering it together and getting it to agitate. I don't want it going over the edge. Use some tempered chocolate. I'm going to show you a little technique. We're going to make some chocolate tulips. To make chocolate tulips, what you use is a water balloon. I get tired of blowing these up, so I just use a little air pump. Then what we're going to do with our tempered chocolate, we want to get the air bubbles out of the surface. Oh, I don't use that, let's use this. Okay. Nice flat surface. What I have is a plastic sheet, and I'm just using a piece of tile for transferring. I'm going to use ooh, there's a dirty balloon. I'm going to use my balloon as a template for making my tulips. These are the sizes of my tulips. So I have a small, rounder, or bigger. You can make your balloons as big as you want. If you want to do a big chocolate bowl, make a big balloon, dip it in chocolate, let it set. You have a beautiful chocolate bowl. You can make very small, little delicate balloons if that's what you wish. Take your balloon, dip it in the tempered chocolate. You want to make the one leaf first. Dab, 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 get the extra chocolate off. Get a flat surface. Dab the second side to equal height. So we have nice two balanced leaves. So there's our first two petals on our chocolate tulip. For dinners, luncheons, milk chocolate, and we're going to temper it by what's called the seed method. This is a method, although I'm going to do a small amount, this is often used for tempering larger amounts of chocolate. We're starting from scratch, which is probably how you're going to do it. So what I'm going to do is actually throw a bunch of chocolate in. We'll get this melting in the microwave. The technique is such that you'll melt your chocolate, get the bulk of it melted, and then you'll add some chocolate to it that must be tempered. It'll be in small pieces. We'll add it to it, and you mix it in. And then as the tempered small pieces melt into the chocolate, they actually seed it with the correct, with the beta crystals. They actually shed the good tempered crystals that act as a seed crystal. So then when you use the chocolate, it'll actually be fully tempered. It's already pre-seeded. Instead of making it on the slab, instead of actually generating the seed crystals, we actually get it from melting out chocolate that's already in temper. So first thing we want to do is just melt a bunch of chocolate, which we'll do. And we'll start this out with, say, 60 seconds. And that first 60 seconds, just like with the dark chocolate, that was enough to get it where it is just starting to melt. My stick blender. Just a few little lumps. Come on, there it goes. Okay. And my chocolate, you can see there are almost no lumps. I'm sure there's a lump in here. Yeah, there we go. There's a lump. Pre-tempered chocolate. So it's pretty smooth. The point is, in each and every case, we need to pre-seed our melted chocolate with the cocoa butter crystals, with the proper cocoa butter crystals. So now what would happen if we could get just plain pure cocoa butter crystals that were already in temper and added them? It would be instantly tempered. Calbo, actually Cocoa Berry, came up with that. It's a product called Mikrio. This is basically pure cocoa butter. This is the tempered cocoa butter crystals. It's created in their magic is to create in a powdered form. So you literally sprinkle this 1% by weight into untempered chocolate. These are the tempered cocoa butter crystals. You simply sprinkle them in, mix them in, and your chocolate is tempered. It's a little bit, I can't really say it's really expensive because you only use 1%. So it's going to cost you like 20 cents to temper a batch of chocolate. To me, that's not expensive. The whole thing itself is expensive, but not so bad.